Hey there everyone, this is another video on spotlighting exam objectives for the Autodesk Certified User Fusion 360 exam. So in this video, we're going to be taking a look at the part modeling section, and for this one video, we're going to take a look at creating extrude features as part of our instruction. So as we get into Fusion, I'm going to go ahead and just create a sketch. And I'm not going to worry about creating a component in this case. I'm just going to go ahead and set it on this top plane. And I'm going to go ahead and create a center rectangle right on the origin. And I just want to give it some dimension here. So maybe a 6x3 just to have it constrained. I'm going to finish it. And this, we're just going to take a look at the extrude menu and some of the options. So when I click extrude, I can go ahead and I can either do a few different things. One, with creating extrude features, you can use the graphics area. You can either click and drag the arrow. You can type in a specific distance. And those are some of the options. You can also type it over here in the menu, the dialog box here on the right side. So you have a few different options. One, you have the extrude option. You also have the thin extrude. For this one, we're not going to worry about thin extrude, so it's only going to cover extrusions. And we're going to start with the profile plane. We could go with an offset or to an object, but we're going to just stick with profile plane because it's the most common one done. Direction is one side. We could do a two-sided extrusion, which would do something like this. Or we could do a symmetric extrusion, which would be that if this is 1 inch, that means that there's a 1/2 inch of material on each side of the sketch that we have set here. So you can kind of see what that would look like. Actually, it's 1 inch looking at the whole thing, because down here in the measurement, we have it set to half length. If we do the whole length, that's what 1 inch total would look like, or 1/2 inch on each side. If we do half length, as noted by the little icons, it's going to be 1 inch going up, 1 inch going downward, total of 2 inches there. So that would be symmetric in utilizing those. Extent type is distance, or we could go to all, since there's nothing else there. So a lot of times all gets used for like hole extrusions and things like that, or anytime you're extrude cutting something away. But like for example here, I can go ahead, I'm going to extrude, let's do a one-side extrusion, and we'll go up about, probably about 1 inch. And I'm going to go ahead and say okay. Now, the one thing is about Fusion is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to rotate below here. If I go ahead and click extrude again, either I can use a sketch, or I can always click on a face and continue to use the extrusion, and you'll notice there's going to be no line of separation here. But I'm going to go ahead and extrude this down maybe about another 2 inches. And the other aspect of this is going to have the operation of doing a taper. So the taper, you can grab the little grip to have something like this, maybe a -20 degrees. You can enter it in here in the dialog box. But this grip also allows you to go through and specify a certain taper angle for your extrusion. So I'm going to do a -20, and we're going to have it be a join operation. I'll go ahead and say okay. So this will go through there, and we're going to see the line, and we're going to be able to see that kind of taper that happens there. Now, the other thing that we can do, so I'm going to go ahead and create a new sketch on this top face. And we'll do a circle here, and let's say, just for the sake of it, we'll do a square on this side. So I'm not going to worry too much about putting in dimensions, but in general, we want to go through and have fully dimensioned sketches to work with. But I'm going to go ahead and run extrude again. And when I go to do that, let's say I want to click on the circle and have it go down into the part. So as I create the extrusion, you're going to notice the operation is going to be set to cut. Or I could do an intersect, which the intersect option, you can see it got rid of everything but the cylinder as far as how far it would go down. And here you can see if I keep dragging, it's only going to give me the cylinder that intersects. So I actually want to do a cut operation. So I want it to cut like a hole all the way through. So that's where, instead of a distance, we can choose all, and that would automatically pick up the total height. It's a cut operation. We don't have a taper angle. And we could flip the direction. It's not going to give us anything because there's no material there. But if I flip the direction, I could do that as well. And I'm going to go ahead and say okay. So now here's some things that will kind of happen, is that as well as if you open up the sketches folder You can turn the sketch back on by toggling the visibility. And let's say I want to extrude. I want to create now a two-sided extrusion. And I want to extend this up, but let's say as I go down, I want to cut. So that's going to be the only thing, is that if I join, it's going to join in both distances. So you can see sometimes having to switch in your operation is going to be necessary. But maybe I want this to stick up, maybe this to come down, and maybe I want it to extrude down past and go all the way through this part. So either way, I can go through, and as I'm punching it in, I can type it in for whatever units you have there. You don't have to worry about typing units. You can just go ahead and type the number that you wish to have. And we can say OK, and you'll see the outline of the sketch. If I toggle that off, you won't see it anymore. So, but that's really, when it comes down to utilizing creating extrude features, that's kind of a lot of the basics for the ACU exam. And so those are a lot of the things there. This extrude option is probably one of the most versatile ones that you use. So you can also have new bodies or new components that can be created anytime you create that as well. So for example, if I go to create a new component, I can go ahead and extrude this out and then say OK, and you're going to see that this component that I had set up, there's the only thing that was extruded, and that's a new component. So those types of things. And then obviously from a previous video, you can also see that you can create the body that was created in the earlier portion can be turned into a component by creating it from the body. So those kinds of settings and everything are pretty familiar and are pretty well known as you go forward into the ACU exam. But for the most part, a lot of basic extrusion features, just like the ones we covered here in this video, are going to be asked of you when you take the exam. All right, so this concludes the video on extrude features for the ACU exam. Good luck on preparation for that. If you have questions, feel free to contact me. And otherwise, continue to check out more videos where I'm spotlighting exam objectives for the Fusion 360 Autodesk Certified User exam.